Good afternoon. I am Teresa Cornicone, the Civic Engagement Coordinator for the Bob Graham Center for Public Service at the University of Florida. On behalf of this center, I would like to welcome you to the League of Women Voters Alachua County Primary Candidate Forum. The Bob Graham Center for Public Service was founded with the purpose of engaging the community in the principles of citizenship. As a center, we are committed to offering the public opportunities to connect with the wider world around us. Additionally, the League and the Center are committed to providing the community with nonpartisan and important information about our local elections and candidates. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters Alachua County for partnering with us on this event, which underscores the importance of citizen involvement in local elections. I would now like to introduce Diana Boxer, the co-chair of Voter Services for the League of Women Voters Alachua County.
Thank you, Teresa. Good afternoon to all of the viewers and welcome to our primary election candidate forum. As Teresa said, my name is Diana Boxer and I'm co-chair of Voter Services for the local league. And along with co-chair Gwen Wagner and the League of Women Voters of Alachua County and the Graham Center, we would like to welcome you today. We appreciate your viewership and of course, the participation of the candidates. This forum is open to the public, and an open forum such as this is the essence of democracy and the freedoms that we enjoy in the Republic. I would just like to say that we will not be fact-checking any possibly inaccurate statements by the candidates, and nor have we afforded the candidates the opportunity to rebut possible factually inaccurate statements made by other candidates. This is a forum and not a debate. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that promotes democracy through voter education and advocacy. We do not endorse candidates or political parties, but for more than 100 years, we have studied and supported state, local, and national issues. I remind you that no recording in any medium is allowed. No part of the video that we're recording today may be used in a political advertisement. The content of the forum is the property of the League of Women Voters of Alachua County and the Graham Center, which will record it and make it available to the public after the event. Post-forum viewing will be possible on the League's and the Graham Center's YouTube channels and social media, as well as our websites. Gwen Wagner and I are the moderators for the panels today, with the help of Deborah Scheinman, our Vice President, and Candy Birch, Voter Services member. We will introduce ourselves and explain the format of the panel, which participants have received in advance. All candidates have also received and agreed to the forum rules. They are the standard rules used by our league for virtual forums. Questions were prepared and selected by members of the league. Candidates who appear by name on the primary ballot for school board, Circuit Judge 8, Group 12, City of Gainesville Commission, County Commission, and Mayor were invited to participate in today's forum. The views expressed in the forum today are those of the candidates and not of the league. I'm going to be the moderator of this portion of today's program, in which we'll hear from the candidates for Mayor of Gainesville. Welcome to all of you candidates, and thank you for joining us today. The mayor is the presiding officer of the City Commission. The mayor may vote on all matters that come before the commission, but has no veto power. The mayor is the official head of the city for receipt of service of legal processes, purposes of military law, and all ceremonial purposes, but has no administrative duties. The mayor serves a 4-year term, which is renewable once. The mayor of Gainesville is elected by the voters in the city of Gainesville. There are 9 candidates in the race for mayor of Gainesville, and I'm going to say their names alphabetically. They are David Ariola, Ed Bilarski, Anson Fisher, Gary Gordon, Gabriel Hillel, Adam Rosenthal, Donald Shepard, July Thomas, and Harvey Ward. As you have heard in all the other panels, each candidate is going to get 1 minute for an opening statement. And following the opening statements, I will read questions prepared by the league. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the questions, and there will be 4 of them. And I'll rotate the order in which they respond by name alphabetically. And as you have seen, the timer for 1 minute will be visible on your screen. You'll hear the audible ding at 15 seconds remaining, and you'll hear a chime when your time is over. And if you do not stop speaking, your microphone may be muted. So now we will begin with the candidates' opening statements. You each have 1 minute, and we'll start with David Ariola. Your opening statement, please.
In this election, voters have to ask themselves, how will Gainesville face the challenges of the decade ahead? I was born and raised here. I have been a city commissioner for 5 years. I have been affected by the rise in cost of living. I had to go and get a second job installing solar rooftop panels just to make ends meet. As mayor, I will make it my job to ensure that no matter how much money you take home, you're going to be able to find a place to live in Gainesville, anywhere in the city. I also want to continue leading climate policy. I was the commissioner who introduced the idea of bringing GRU to 100% renewable energy by the end of the century. We also need to make sure that we're finally making good on the promises that we have made to East Gainesville for economic development. The next mayor will have to lead with experience, clarity, and decisiveness to ensure that the future of Gainesville is in a positive direction. And I want to thank the League and the Bob Graham Center for providing this forum today.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Ed Bilarski. Your opening statement, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Ed Bilarski, and I'm really happy to be in front of the League of Women Voters again. Just a little bit about me. I'm a former CPA with a BA in accounting and an MBA in strategic management. I got alphabet soup behind my name. I have over 40 years of business experience in which I've demonstrated strong leadership skills. 7 of those years were spent as GRU's general manager. I'm committed to ending the commission's addiction to GRU customer monies. Over the past 4 years, GRU has transferred $68 million more than what they earned. So I'm also committed to ending the commission's war on single-family zoning and the worship at the altar of density at all costs. I'm also committed to continuing my work as the champion of affordable renewable energy. I made the biomass plant work for the utility. I ended the utility's dependence on coal. I executed the largest solar contract in Gainesville history, almost tripling solar capacity at a price lower than GRU's weighted average cost. Now's the time to stop the malarkey. Vote for Bilarski.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Ansan Fisher. Your opening statement, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Anshan Fisher. My campaign slogan is, "This is the season of the new beginning." I'm a single father of 5. I believe in equality for all. I have been an educator and a mentor in the city of Gainesville for 25 years. I am a business owner as well. I realize our citizens of Gainesville are seeking leadership from a mayor that will really fight for the people. I'm here to protect the people of Gainesville. I set high standards for the children that look up to me. I'm aware of the desire that the people of Gainesville have. I appreciate your vote in this year's election. Vote Anshan Fisher for mayor of the city of Gainesville. I want to thank the Women's League of Voters as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we'll go to Gary Gordon. Your opening statement, please.
I'm Gary Gordon. I grew up here. I served on 2 city advisory committees before being elected to the city commission in 1983, where I worked to defend neighborhoods, worked successfully on implementing and increasing energy conservation and keeping utility rates down, and led the effort to create the recycling program. After serving here, I moved away and worked for 19 years as the executive director of a business association dealing regularly with city government officials, staff, and adjacent neighborhoods. When I returned to my hometown, I thought, what have they done? But it's not just what they've done, it's what they're continuing to do to destroy the character of Gainesville. I'm running because I couldn't vote for any of the top 3 contenders, 2 of whom haven't fought hard for neighborhoods and 1 of whom has no experience. I'm the only one running who has served as mayor of the city, the only one running who is elected citywide, the only one who as mayor has dealt with the array of city issues. I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you. Next, Gabriel Hillel. Your opening statement, please.
My name is Gabriel Hillel. I'm running as a secular Jew, as a dissident, as I would in a Putin-led government. I differ with all of the candidates except one, and I will endorse that candidate for mayor. I'm not running to win, but to raise consciousness. This forum is opening for the mayoral office 2.5 hours or more after the start. If there are still 300 people out there watching, I think that's amazing. But from my perspective, very clearly, what needs to be changed in this Jim Crow community, elections have to be run with debates. Two of the candidates running for mayor have incumbency records. They shouldn't be running on opening statements. They should be running on their record. That's very different. They should be accountable. There is no accountability right now in the city of Gainesville. I will tell you in response to my answers why that's so.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Adam Rosenthal.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here today and providing this opportunity. I've moved to Gainesville 10 years ago from Wisconsin, seeking new opportunities to grow, and Gainesville has provided. I've worked in customer service and technical support for most of my career. I've led teams of problem solvers by listening to those we serve to better create data-driven solutions rooted in the technology that connects us. I want to extrapolate my experiences to continue to serve you, not just by addressing the symptoms, but by confronting the root of the problems. In 2018, I became homeless after my family experienced domestic violence, but I was able to bounce back stronger than ever because of the innovative solutions brought by the love of my community. It showed me how beautiful life is when we all work together. I want to discover and expand the opportunities together so we can lift everyone up into a new era for the city where no one is left behind and we all prosper. Rest assured, Gainesville, I'm never going to give you up. Thank you for your time. I love you all.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to hear from Donald Shepard. Your opening statement, please.
I'm Donald Shepard. I'm people's representative, and meaning of people's representative is exactly that. We have had a lot of converse designs in this city which dragged our city down. The east side has been the dog of the city for years, and I'm to take and change that outlook by our housing, by our finances, and by our airport. These issues have been overlooked throughout our city finances, and our upcoming city mayors haven't had the backbone to take and direct that. I had a former commissioner and mayor running. I took and have stated that throughout my term, and I am bringing to you, why we need me. Thank you. I'm Donald Shepard, your next representative for office.
Thank you. July Thomas, we'd like your opening statement, please.
Yeah, I was going to do the whole alphabet soup thing, talk about my resume, talk about the data science I do and the projects I want to do with the city. But in light of what's happened the last 2 days, kind of the only thing that I can think about is the fact that we're living in a post-Roe world. The first thing the legislator is going to do at the state level when they reconvene is attempt to pass a full abortion ban. The governor has made a show of meddling in our local politics on the school board and the county commission. He's stacked U.S. Board of Trustees with his billionaire donors. And we need leadership that stands up to him rather than capitulating. It takes strength to fight, and it takes community. As a trans woman on the southern tip of the Deep South, the only way I know how to live is to fight. And I want to fight for this city and with this city. And I encourage those in the other races to reach out to me and join. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Harvey Ward. Harvey.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Harvey Ward. I've served as a Gainesville City Commissioner for more than 5 years now. I've worked, learned, and lived here in Gainesville all my life, and my wife Jillian and I are raising our 3 daughters here as well. I've served on a variety of boards over the years, including the Early Learning Center, Early Learning Coalition rather, Elder Care, and the Hippodrome Theater, among others. I've also volunteered extensively with Grace Marketplace and similar organizations. As a commissioner, I've been able to bring real solutions to City Hall. that expand workers' rights, protect our environment, protect our neighborhoods, and honor our veterans. I'm the only person in this race who has worked with city staff to create and implement affordable housing solutions that actually serve Gainesville families right now. I see a city where we connect to each other and to the world around us, where we commit to safe streets and clean, reliable energy and work together to create peace of mind for everyone who calls Gainesville home. My name is Harvey Ward. I'm running for mayor. Thank you.
We're going to go on to the questions that we prepared, and you'll each, of course, have 1 minute to respond. The first question, we will begin with David Ariola. What do you believe are the 3 most critical projects or initiatives that will move Gainesville forward?
Thank you. I believe the most important thing we can do in Gainesville right now is to pass inclusionary zoning for all developments, all housing developments. Inclusionary zoning is a concept that is used all across the country, where developments have to set aside a sliding scale of 10 to 20% of units to be affordable, tied to the area median income. We have a model working right now in Gainesville where a development company can contract with the Gainesville Housing Authority to help them find homes for people on the housing wait list. I also think it's incredibly important that we follow through on our promises to East Gainesville. The clinic is happening. The UF clinic that we have set money aside is happening. We need to make sure that we follow through on the grocery store and the renovations of Citizens Field. And finally, I think we need to completely renovate our downtown. The Streetery project that was started, which has closed some streets to traffic, has shown that businesses thrive when outdoor seating and space is available. I would like to make that happen for all of downtown. And I think that these 3 initiatives can really begin to make Gainesville a better place.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to Ed Bilarski. Your answer to question 1, please.
Very good. Yes, I think my 3 issues would be the ending this allure of density at all costs. We have this, I've walked 10,000 to 10,000 homes throughout the community, walking door to door. And there's this vibrant community that exists that density would destroy. I don't want to do that. We need to have affordable living, but affordable living starts with having lower utility bills. It's one of the biggest expenses that you have. So ignoring that while you're looking at other solutions for housing is incomprehensible. We need land trust, the release of the Sadowski Fund. We need to work with UF. The other thing is that we need an affordable way to get to 100% renewable. I was there when we put together the first IRP that showed that based on today's technology, it would cost $3.6 billion. That's with a B. We can't make it another biomass plant.
Thank you. Next is Anson Fisher. Your answer, please.
Yes, I believe at the city of Gainesville, we need to focus more on the youth and the upbringing of the youth, which also leads to gang violence and gun control here in our city. I think it's something that's been highly ignored over years. Also, the utility. I have talked to thousands of residents here that's on the verge of moving to other counties or other cities just because of utility bills. So, and healthcare. Third is healthcare. I think we have to understand that the city of Gainesville provides a lot for people that's touring here from other cities for health issues and veteran affairs and things like that. I think that should be our main focus for what we have at stake. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Gary Gordon. Your answer, please.
I think the #1 initiative is to reinvest in ourselves. The city got rid of a lot of citizen advisory committees over the last several years, and they've been hiring a lot of out-of-town consultants, very pricey, very costly. We've got a lot of knowledge here in the community that we can invest in and gain from if we recreate the kind of citizen advisory committees that existed when I served in the early 80s. Secondly, we need to realize that we need to get our house in order. What does that mean? These housing projects that are bogus affordable housing projects need to be swept off the table. They're not affordable. They would intrude on single family areas, and the city commission instead is bent on getting rid of the single family areas. Third, we need to get our financial house in order on the city side and the utility side with the problems with the city financial reports and with the problems with the utilities.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. We'll move on to Gabriel Hillel. Your answer, please.
I think we're okay. All right, here we go.
We can see you now.
The
Good.
first initiative, my answers obviously will be different from the other candidates, but I will tell you now that whether he likes it or not, I'm endorsing and will continue to endorse Gary Gordon for mayor as the only one with the right attitude and vision and understanding of the history. But what has to be done mostly, first initiative, is to bring in the disenfranchised voters in Gainesville. The three groups I would mention, number one are 50,000 students. Number two are veterans who are excluded from City Hall. Many of us are disabled. We don't have adequate hearing, any facilities for disability veterans coming in. The veterans have been ignored. The idea of East Gainesville and single women are really critical. That is, single mothers have to be involved. The District 1 leaders have not done that despite their claims. Again, we have to look at what has happened. Now, with regard to actual initiative, what I would like to see happen really clearly is to restore government to a city manager form of government.
Thank you for your statement. Thank you for that. We'll move on to Adam Rosenthal.
Thank you. I think the number one issue that we need to focus on is bring more equity to the citizens. We need to introduce more piecework to the people that are willing to work in order to raise the amount of money that they're able to make. Affordable housing is important, but being able to lower the cost of housing isn't always going to be the best solution or the best long-term solution. Being able to give those people more options to be able to make money in order to live in housing is going to be far more valuable for the city so that we can raise the city up. The second issue I believe that we need to address is how to make entertainment a bigger part of the city, make it something that people can make money off of. Everyone at the end of the day, they don't work because they want to work. Everyone wants to be able to come home and enjoy something. Gainesville has so much entertainment value with what it's able to offer that I truly believe that if we start focusing on this in the way that the bus stops have been implemented, we'll be able to have more equity being able to introduced.
Thank you.
Right.
Next, we'll move on to Donald Shepard. Your answer, please.
I think this is Donald Shepard, run for mayor. I think the critical needs are our finances, our housing, and our sidewalks. Our people have been asking for this for years, has been overlooked, and our finances not being in order cannot take and address that problem. Therefore, we need to have a person there that has been on the International Finance Board as I and my godfather, James B. Wilmot, and we will get things in order. So vote for Donald Shepard in the next election in August 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is July Thomas. Your answer, please.
Yeah, so the first one, which is the one that everyone loves to run on and then they get into office and forget about it, is to actually invest in Black Gainesville. That starts by electing people who were doing the work in that community before they were ever politicians. If they don't have a record from before they were politicians, don't vote for them. The second thing is that we need to bring people from that community into positions of leadership within the city. That's all my first point. Second one is to support our local economies. This means this is a twofold process. The first thing is to look at the economies that actually do well despite the city. So we poured a bunch of money into Innovation Square and the Tech Hub. It was a massive failure. Well, meanwhile, we have a hospitality industry that, adjusted to the median, is one of the most outsized in the city. UF would like us to be a monoculture. We shouldn't be a monoculture. That's dangerous. The last thing is we need to ferret the consultants out of the city. We need to tap into community engagement. This means electing officials who can live off of the very modest salary that is paid to them, and electing officials who are actually going to spend the time building relationships with people who are inside City Hall.
Thank you. And finally, Harvey Ward, your answer to question 1, please.
Thank you. It's hard to boil it down to just 3 things, but I would say that the number 1 thing we should work on is safe streets. We've it's easy to lose focus on this sort of thing, but we need to maintain pressure on the Florida Department of Transportation to make sure that we make University Avenue and 13th Street complete streets. And I mean that from out east near Lofton High School all the way over to 34th Street, and south of the University of Florida campus north to Gainesville High School. That's something we cannot lose focus of. We must make this a place where being a pedestrian and being a cyclist is not an life. Second, I would say the utility scale solar installations are extremely important to being able to reach our renewable energy goals. And I'm not sure if the one we have on the table right now is going to happen or not, but we have to seek another and another and another. Solar is critical to moving forward. Also, a clean, safe downtown is critical to the success of a city that thrives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the second question. And we'll begin with Ed Bilarski. Well-reported healthcare statistics over the past 2 to 5 years have shown deep inequities in healthcare based on income and location. What do you see as primary barriers and solutions to the current healthcare crisis in our low-income communities?
First of all, I think we have a failed model in our healthcare system. I think that people repeatedly have shown access to healthcare is fleeting at best in normal communities, and within our low-income communities, as other commissioner candidates have expressed, is kind of a lost cause. So we have to think outside the box and partner with, I think, as a city, partner with the primary healthcare provider in the community. We talk about being Gator Nation. We're nowhere near being Gator Nation. The university could be helping us with affordable housing. What better place to have affordable housing than some of the campus itself, where you have some of the folks that are studying sociology, some of the people that are studying this work to be there and help. The same thing should occur with healthcare. UF should be partnering with us on all kinds of low-income community healthcare.
Thank you. We'll move on to Anson Fisher. Your response, please.
Yes, our healthcare crisis here in our low-income communities is in last place. We have several thousand people that live in low-income communities where they just don't have healthcare, or the applications that they have or what's provided is very weak. So I think we first should upgrade that, and then we will see a difference. Then the citizens to pay attention to the healthcare crisis that we're dealing with here in Gainesville. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move on to Gary Gordon. Your response, please.
Primary barriers, affordability and access. Affordability, very little that the city can do about that. We're a municipal government designed to provide police, fire, public works, parks and recreation, and we have to do land use and zoning in regards to who gets to use the land and what they get to use it for. So let's go to access. Access is a matter, in this case, of 2 factors. Public transportation, is it available? Is it available often enough? And what can the city do about that within the limits of the budgets? If it's not a matter of public transit, then it's a matter of UF location of health facilities. Now, it's all well and good to say the UF should, the UF should. The city has been saying to the university for 20 years, do this, and they don't.
Thank you. We'll move on to Gabriel Hillel. Your answer, please.
I have sued and would ask the city to sue UF and U of F Healthcare for staging the biggest hospital fraud in that history in our nation. They filed false claims, which ended AGH without any recourse. That was Alachua General Hospital. What happened was they moved health facilities west of 13th Street so that we are disconnected. Our Black community entirely from ready healthcare. It's not a question of bus transportation and the like. It's a question, for example, that there are 18 all-white clinics for the white community all around Alachua County. There are none on East Gainesville. There's one with white doctors. There should be an extensive recruitment campaign for Black physicians and Black nurses, and that would be done through the University of Florida. The University of Florida is part of the problem right now. It's got to be made part of this solution.
Thank you. We're moving on to Adam Rosenthal. Your response, please.
I do agree with Gary where the biggest problem that we have is public transportation. I have been late to many appointments due to the public transportation that we have. But at the same time, this past weekend, I was at the Government Services Expo, where I got to see the new public transportation app that allowed me to see, well, here's how things are improving. I do believe that once we start to get the actual physical access to healthcare available for people, that from there, we're going to be able to address more programs that can help offset the cost. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Donald Shepard, your answer, please.
The current solution to the healthcare is to work with the CHANS and with the community to take and bring healthcare to East Gainesville, where we have took and suffered for over 53 years without it. Retirement homes, institute retirement homes, the groceries. That's another thing. It's been conflict of the healthcare, not having the proper foods. You can't get healthcare if you not have the proper foods. They stopped the food market that was going to go in there, and I think that was a shame. I think that we need to have more healthcare in this city is all about stopping East Gainesville health. So let's take and get a mayor in there that backs East Gainesville as I do, and backs our city finances as I do, and bring our city to a new conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank
Moving
you.
on to July Thomas, please.
Yeah, so I'm in one of these communities, and the primary resource right now is the Eastside Clinic. They run an after-hours service. It's a free service. It's a UF Health Clinic, and my issue is, as we know, UF giveth, UF taketh away. Alachua General is one example that was already mentioned. And, you know, from what I've heard, Shands Hospital, even up into the 80s, was doing forced sterilization on Black women. So I don't know that necessarily UF is the answer, especially on the East Side and in these Black communities. What we do have, as by virtue of our proximity to the university, is a lot of young, talented people who have been professionally trained in medicine who want to help the community. We need to find a way to get to those people and to empower them to provide the services to the community in the communities that we need to serve.
Thank you. We're moving on now to Harvey Ward. Your response, please.
Thank you, Diana. So I'm excited to talk about this. There's a lot of good things happening right now that I feel we ought to be able to take advantage of as a community. Number one, the city of Gainesville, Alachua County, and UF Health have recently partnered on the concept of building a UF Health clinic on Hawthorne Road. And the good thing about that is not only the clinic itself, but that it will allow us to use that property to leverage other medical services in that location as well. I'm hopeful that we can use that model to reach out to other health services to locate in East Gainesville as well. The other thing that we learned through the pandemic is that we actually have a health resource as part of the city of Gainesville through Gainesville Fire Rescue, and that is the Community Resource Paramedicine Program, which we are looking for ways to expand and get primary health services to people through GFR, and we're looking at ways to co-locate some clinic opportunities at fire stations as we move forward into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving on to finally, David Ariola, your response, please.
So for the past 2 years, I have been a grant reviewer for the Florida Association of Free and Charitable Clinics. which distributes millions of dollars of state grants to free and charitable clinics in the state. And I see the biggest barrier in all of these communities, and particularly in Alachua County, is a lack of state assistance, a lack of access to primary care, urgent care, and transit. So it has been mentioned the Community Resource Paramedic Program and the UF Health Clinic will be changes to the status quo here in Gainesville. Part of that is the introduction of the brand new Gainesville Community Health Improvement Plan. Alachua County has one of these, but now because of the CRP, Gainesville is launching their own. This will help us to increase people's access and, of course, our initiatives. An outside the box idea that was brought by the former chief medical advisor, Dr. Lisa Chaco, is the idea to pool the large risk of health insurance that city employees have and offer it to smaller businesses and other institutions. So that way we can pool our risk and offer the same healthcare that our employees get in Gainesville.
Thank you. We're going to next have the opportunity to address question 3. And this question is, communication between the city and all of Gainesville's residents is a key component of positive change. What ideas do you have for improving communication, including communication with residents who have historically been left out, for example, citizens of color? And we'll begin with Anson Fisher.
Thank you. 2022, the communication between the city and residents in Gainesville is very distant. But thank God that you can't fool the citizens of Gainesville any longer. With me as mayor, I provide the voice and the stability to help all of Gainesville out. And I am door to door, any living rooms. I have parent support, and I hear the cry, the complaint of the city that mention to me on a daily about how it's the distance between the city and residents. You have thousands of people here located in Alachua County that have no idea who the mayor even is today. So right there is a clear example of how the communication is none. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Gary Gordon. Your answer, please.
Well, I've always been a strong proponent and practitioner of communication between the local government and the people within the city, citizens, merchants, everyone. I think one problem that we have is that in the last few years that I've observed, the city commission as a group has had a disdain for citizens who come to the commission meetings and disagree with what the city commission wants to do. And it's palpable. You can talk to people about that. You can even observe it. I would look to change the tone of the city commission under my own leadership as mayor to say, hey, we actually do welcome you and we actually do want to hear what you have to say. We haven't already made up our minds on these different issues. The city also has to make sure that it's reaching out to people. And that's the job of the mayor and the commissioners, not hiring an ombudsman, but the people who were elected to do it themselves.
Thank you. Moving on to Gabriel Hillel. Your answer, please.
Very simply, we have an asset that nobody wants to deal with. It's called Channel 12, which would be better off if the city had gotten what it promised years ago with Cox. But we have Channel 12. Given Channel 12, you could have any kind of programming that the city wanted to put on could be there. The community could be alerted by leafleting, by all kinds of community. The point is, in this community, communication is deliberately obfuscated. We once had an excellent communications director. He was replaced by an all-white staff. They have no interest in the east side. You just don't know the inner workings of how Gainesville has operated to maintain a Jim Crow existence.
Thank you. Moving on to Adam Rosenthal, your response, please.
This is a great question because I have felt that personally, ever since I moved down here, I never knew how to be someone where my voice would be heard. I think a big part of it is going to be discovering why is it exactly that people feel that they're not being communicated with. Going door to door, asking people that don't have internet, such as some other communities that are not as technologically able, but by also having a survey, being able to take a sample of what the people of Gainesville are and asking them exactly like, how would you want to be communicated with? I think this is something where it's more about finding out what do the people want instead of trying to figure out by trial and error what works. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Donald Shepard. Your answer, please.
This is Donald Shepard. I think the problem of the communications of our city commission and our records have been the key issue of it. We had many people that come to our city commission, get up to the microphone and get cut off by the mayor, by commissioners, and this has been a problem. If I become mayor, I'm going to get a 5-minute speaking program where you get 5 minutes at the podium to speak your opinion. The opinions of the citizens have not been heard, and they're thinking about black people. It's not only black people; it's white people too. And this needs to be addressed, and that's how I'll address in my mayorship. Thank you for representing me. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. We'll move on to July Thomas.
Yeah, so one of the things I've been following, especially from the beginning of the COVID pandemic, is that there's a group of Black youth who have just been looking for something to do. They started at Fletcher's, the city shut down Fletcher's. They moved over to the Wawa, the city chased them out of the Wawa. Now they've been moving around from parking garage to parking garage downtown, just looking for a place to hang out. And each parking garage is getting shut down every, over time. At any point throughout the last 2 years, our elected officials could have gone into that community, gone up to those groups, had conversations, found out what those kids need, and none of them have. So they're just looking for a place to hang out. They're looking for things to do. Their communities are underfunded and they've been geographically dispersed. So all they're trying to do is find a gathering place. They don't know what options are available to them and how to advocate because they are not communicated with by the city. They just have cops showing up and chasing them around town, and it's just a waste of resources. On the other hand, and housing advocacy, I also find that people don't know who their elected representatives are, and that is an ongoing issue.
Thank you. Harvey Ward, your response, please.
Thank you, Diana. Another great opportunity to talk about some things that are being worked on right now. Yesterday morning, I was at the MLK Center for the first City Services Fair, which was a huge success. I saw Mr. Rosenthal there. I didn't see any other candidates, but that's okay. There were hundreds of Gainesville residents who were there, along with hundreds of city workers. They're telling the story about what the city does. Each department had a table set up where they could communicate directly with people who were interested and who need city services. I've seen very few things that we've done that have been as successful as I believe that will be. City Manager Curry is looking to replicate that on a quarterly basis. We've also started something called the Neighborhood First program, where we take a similar approach to bringing city programs to neighborhoods at churches and community centers, where we bring all the folks who can answer the questions to the people who have needs and who need those services, meet each other and start working through the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is David Ariola. Your response, please.
If you want to improve communication with underrepresented communities, particularly communities of color, you have to do something that is actually going to benefit their communities, and you have to explain to them why. One of the things that I initiated when I was on the commission in 2017, when Donald Trump was using his power in his office to intimidate the immigrant community, I worked with the Alachua County Human Rights Coalition to introduce community ID programs that were recognized by law enforcement and that people could use for basic things like picking up their kids and getting library cards. And that was a huge success. And now the city of Gainesville has an incredible relationship with our immigrant community. And it has shown as we've been able to launch language access programs and as we've been able to launch more initiatives. As mayor, I want to introduce complete community councils where neighbors will stand in to give recommendations and advice for their needs and also to talk about projects that may affect them. We have a pilot going right now with the city manager, which I think is going great.
Thank you. And finally, Ed Bilarski, your answer to this question, please.
Yeah, I have 2 words, Yvette Cardher. Yvette is the new community relations director at the city. She worked for me when I was at GRU. She started programs like GRU in the neighborhood, Camp Empower, Brighter Tomorrow, scholarship banquets. She met people where they live, and she's doing that for the city. And it was one of the programs that Commissioner Ward was talking about. So that's a really important component, is meet people where they live. The second thing is that I agree with Gary that the City Commission has an aversion to public comment. So I think for the first thing you need to do is place commissioner comment after public comments. You know, we have a program where commissioners make their comments known, and then they say, hey, public, what do you think? And of course, you can see them with their arms folded, looking at them, some of them on their cell phones, and you know you're not being listened to. So the first thing you need to do is actually listen to the public at the meetings. So that's what I would propose.
Thank you. We're going to go on to question number 4. And we'll start with Gary Gordon. How does the long-range city plan address contested development, such as St. Michael's, to make room for the influx of new residents and the preservation of neighborhoods and green spaces? Gary Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just reading the question here. Okay, you know, I'm going to depart from the exact wording of the question.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about influx of new residents. Somehow the popular wisdom is that we need to accept everyone that wants to move into this town, and we need to have something built for them, as if there is unlimited water in the aquifer to sustain all of this population growth. The impact of population growth on the aquifer, on the quality of life of people already here, on traffic, and all these other aspects that the county and the school board and other people talked about, it's a function of population growth, and we need to get off of the notion that we want a whole bunch of people to move here and we want to plan for that. The city commission, Ward and Areola voted for that St. Michael's project. Duncan Walker voted against it. I spoke against it. That's the answer.
Oh, I was muted. Thank you. Your time is up. Okay, let's move on to Gabriel Hillel. Your answer, please.
Again, what I want to leave the audience with, there is an elephant in the room. You want to act like the city or county has a say in this community, independent of the University of Florida. Both of them babble on about partnership with the University of Florida. It's nonsense. This community's influx or provision for incoming folks is all dependent on the University of Florida. There's no other source, okay? If they decide to reduce the number of students, that would be one thing. They will build in place facilities in accordance with their need for their population. To the degree it overlaps with the city or county, that's all well and good. But we're talking about the University of Florida, and you have no control of it. By you, I mean every one of us running for mayor. You can pretend, as one of the commissioners has done, that there is a partnership. That partnership is a fallacy. Until we deal with the University of Florida, we can't deal. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Adam Rosenthal. Your response, please.
So I will admit I'm not too familiar with the St. Michael's plan, but we do need to also figure out how to make the most of the space that we have. I truly feel that if we focus on vertical development instead of horizontal development, doing a smart way to eliminate single family housing, where that was actually a barrier for me getting housing when I was homeless. Figuring out a way that we can make everyone have a place here and just do it smartly. There is going to be a way to do it, but we got to figure out how to do it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Donald Shepard, your response, please.
The question here about development, the Uptown Bo Diddley Plaza, was not developed in the proper manner, which I give to the GCIR department, and the Bo Diddley Plaza would have been reconstructed different. The construction of the other one on the other side of the town, that wasn't done proper either. And the pond is still leaking. No proper address of the city functions. I know nothing about the St. Michael's plan, but I want to take it state that we got a lot of green places where we could take and put businesses and develop our city to a better financial move. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to July Thomas, your answer, please.
Yeah, so the St. Michael's controversy kind of highlights an issue that we have where there wasn't really a plan. The demolition took place before there was anything actually solidified, and now that lot is full of trash. And this has happened throughout our city where we have city blocks that are vacant. And the reason why they're vacant is because when investors buy property, even if it is a building that still has life in it, they'll tear it down because it actually increases the speculation value because they're saving whoever buys the property from them the cost of demolition. So at the end of the day, what this is really about is speculation in our land, our real estate, and our housing. We need to take a look at the way that we are allowing speculators through paid consultants to infiltrate the city commission. The chair of the plan board, Stephanie Sutton, is an employee of EDA Consultants. She has to recuse herself from half the things she's supposed to be voting on because she is literally the consultant. So we need to separate consultants from the city government and get the community back involved in the city government and begin to address the needs of housing of people who are actually coming here. The young professionals who are moving here largely want single family homes. And instead, the city is at war with single family zoning because it serves their consultants' needs and it
Thank
serves
you.
the developers' needs.
Thank you. We'll move on to Harvey Ward, your response, please.
Thank you for asking. It's an important question and one that deals directly with the services that a city should provide. We are currently dealing with planning issues, with growth issues that are ours because they maybe weren't dealt with correctly in previous decades. And it's up to us and to the next commission to make good decisions because make no mistake, there are going to be people moving here and we don't have the option of saying, no, I'm sorry, you can't come into our city and live here. People are going to move here. South Florida is facing serious climate change emergencies, and folks will be coming here whether we have a plan or not. So it's important that we do have a plan and that we be sensitive to not only the needs of the folks who are going to be moving here, but to the people who live here right now. We cannot just rip the Band-Aid off and say, here's our new plan. We have to develop this iteratively and communicatively with the people who already live here and take great care in how we do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to David Ariola, your response, please.
Gainesville's green spaces are going to be protected by the tree canopy and parks master plans that we have passed. Our tree canopy is about 47% coverage in the city. Our goal is to only increase that over the next 10 years. I also want to be very clear that this is not, as some of my opponents have used language that I think is more befitting. They use words like war and destruction. We're not talking about eliminating single family housing. What we are talking about is allowing for more small scale multifamily housing that you see in Gainesville's oldest and most traditional neighborhoods. I want to be very clear, there are going to be limitations to how many people can live. There are going to be limitations like setbacks, and I promise there will be a 2-story limitation to this type of new construction. This is going to make sure that we preserve the neighborhoods. I also want to be very clear that in the final special meeting for the St. Michael's, I did not vote to change the zoning. And so that is why now we see the zoning remain the same. I think we're going to manage it well.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to Ed Bilarski, please.
Contrary to what was just said, the actual long-range city plan includes elimination of single-family home zoning to neighborhood zoning, which by right allows people, not by exception, but by right, to put additional occupancy on that property. it eliminates the occupancy limitation. So it is a war on people that I've talked to. I've knocked on 10,000 doors, and people have told me, what the heck is going on? We do not like this. So if we go back to the other question about listening to people, people that are in office right now are not listening to the people, and they have a long-term plan that's going to affect generations beyond us. And they're going to say, well, it's what we knew, what we could do. No, listen to the people. You're eliminating the canopy. You're eliminating the very nature of neighborhoods, whether it be in Pleasant Street, Porter's Quarters, Suburban Heights. Listen to the people.
Thank you. And finally, Anson Fisher, your response to question number 4.
All right, thank you. Growth issues here, and responding to that, with the residents here, like I mentioned before, you can no longer fool the citizens here in the city of Gainesville, especially on the east side. I've heard hundreds of citizens complain about the development that we have on the split road where University Boulevard and Hawthorne Road meets. The citizens know the city spent $750,000 for mulch and plants. Like, we have commissioners that mention about 24-hour emergency healthcare on Hawthorne Road. The people are tired of waiting. They've heard that years ago. So it's more of show and prove here. And I understand that we have thousands uncountable people moving here daily. No one knows and no one can keep up with that. So far as our city government, is very, very vital that we move quickly. The waiting game and the time frame that we think we have, we don't have that. And I believe that we have yet to understand that. So hiring Fisher for mayor, thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates for mayor for answering our questions and introducing yourselves. We appreciate your time and your thoughtful answers to the questions. The League will offer you, the candidates, another opportunity to connect with voters through our digital voter guide that's coming soon, Vote 411. So candidates, please look for an invitation in your inbox tomorrow. Thank you also to the viewers for your participation today, all 350 of you. This concludes the League of Women Voters of Alachua County and Bob Graham Center for Public Service 2022 Primary Election Candidate Forum. Post-forum viewing will be available on our League and Graham Center YouTube channels. We plan to have a October 11th candidate forum for the regular election. Details about that are to come, so please join us for that. And remember to vote before August 23rd or on August 23rd. Your vote is your voice. Thank you all.